So we continue now to TELE Haase and Microtronics. And this is where the buildings don't really play such a role in this meeting. TELE, in a previous briefing, it played a role at Industry Makers. This year, a control cabinet played a role, or is still playing an important role, I should say. And Peter Dollfuss, Chris Bodor, Martin Buber, and it's an entire team that has been found across this topic. And they have worked out how they can make a switch cabinet intelligent or smart, and they have convened to tell us about it. Now, they are going to talk about the control cabinet. So I'm Chris, and I will present the results of our project. Hello, Chris. Well, our team has not really chosen products that can be considered as sexy, so to speak. So when it comes to the attractiveness of ads. But in any case, we have already made some brainstorming before this event, and we thought about what we can think about here, because not too much has happened in the last 30 years. But we know that electrification is constantly on the rise, and we thought that a control cabinet could be quite of interest, and for this reason, we thought that it would be quite an interesting briefing.
Ja, ist sichtbar.
Yeah, the screen is visible here. Great. Thank you for the great intro. And on the first day, we have had some intensive talks in the job story, and we were discussing the question, and we focused on a concrete issue or problem. Given that many experts participated, of some young participants or not so young participants, quite an interesting discussion evolved, which went into many directions. So finally, we focused on one basic question, that is, how can we use an open source system? How can we supply it with intelligence for the next 5 years? How can we provide and offer a better and easier access to energy presentation, energy trade, and services and maintenance? So when we think about industry and single-family houses and residential houses, so everyone has a control cabinet. So it's nothing new, and this is why it's quite a challenge. And there are many, many parallel ideas. Now, on the second day, we also asked ourselves very intensively whether this is the right approach and the right focus. And then we asked ourselves what the general needs of these persons are. What do we need? And finally, it turned out that we are very much interested in how I can also engage in electric power trade. And for example, if someone says that my heat pump is not working, and we have a service person just around within 200 meters, and perhaps he could also drop in and have a look at it, at my switch cabinet, for example, or who is in charge of switch cabinets and who could look at my heat pump. But it could also be a possibility to organize decentralized systems. Currently, we have industrial buildings, virtual offices at home, so always parallel supply chains and supply ducts. And here we thought that this control cabinet could be brought together as a Lego system where different aspects being conglomerated and to put a kind of shell around it, and to make it simple and light and easy to use. Simplicity is very important. So we had lots of talks about that. On the third day, we proceeded to the functions. So we said which functions are required for electric power, heat chain. And so we came across data information and data blocks, and also future functions which are still cannot be foreseen, but to make them variable, that they can also be activated. And currently this is not yet possible. And also sensor systems. So it's not just the control cabinet, but it must be implementable in a way that I constantly need to set up a parallel system. So many things happen in the KMX area where we have to think about everything from the start. So these are also quite exciting and interesting things. Everyone could be interested in, who is equally who's working in industry or who is just building a single family house. And then we proceeded with idea number 2, and particularly with Microtronics coming into play, we tried to create a switch picture, and the customer can be at home, can be business, can be industry. So it's also split up in thirds with energy consumption, heat, so that everything is split up in thirds, with also some massive problems being encountered. With Markus Ketting, we also have a great supporter who also plays a certain role for us, and the team had to find a new idea in terms of who has what needs, who's about EVU, how about the customer. And so it was very exciting. We are talking about data ownership and who do the data belong to. So we're also on Facebook. So the question is, who is interested in the savings potential? Where does the customer have the opportunity to make decisions himself? Perhaps do I give it to a heat pump manufacturer? So these are all issues that are important when it comes to switch controls, control cabinets. And it's not just a direct concept, but it's also, we have also found opportunities of cooperation, where we said, we entered into this project with 3 steps. We said we want to have a black box at every location, and also the interfaces. So we had a black box at every location to get it, to provide these interfaces. So we have hundreds of different interfaces on a software and on a physical level, and this will definitely be a monster project. So we can really adopt the monster we have seen before. So we said we need 3 locations to bring about a certain interlinking and networking to create prototypes, and we want to match all 3 locations. Then we will take the next steps, because we said we need to understand first which hardwares and which technologies we want to implement that might also have effect on the implementation. And here we have to think about several things.
Have to think a little bit more what we are doing, where we are going, but that is how the business model looks like. With user data, with trading, we were also talking about energy, and energy, of course, stock exchange, or also a future stock exchange. And then also very interesting discussions. What are the next steps? well, the black box, find a business model, and use data of all three sides and overlap them. And the three sides agreed that we can do that. So you have an agreement of all sides. Well, the first two were a little bit is easier, but thanks University Burgenland, this was really great. Well, yeah, he really supported us with energy management systems and so on. And do you think that you will have a prototype until October in one of the sites? I'm sure. Yes, I think we started that already before, and we have now already the first parts. And now we have to enlarge them with factor 3. Thanks, Chris. So, because then with the best of meeting, you have to do the transmission from there. Well, I assume quite carefully that with the best of industry meets makers is on the 18th of October. Let's see about the situation. Then it will probably an hybrid event. Good team, a lot has been done, and we are also have here an advertisement from Miro, which is really a cool board. And so maybe you can also do some, yeah. So thanks a lot.